Hey guys, so I want to talk about the fear of not being good enough. And it's something I've been thinking a lot about lately just because I'm a year-ish into a freelance career and it's hard and it's scary and I'm constantly thinking like, did I make the right decision? Should I go back to school? Should I do all of these things? But the reality is this is what I want to do. So I have to try my hardest to do what I want to do. And if at some point I feel like it's not working, then I reevaluate. But right now, I can't stop just because I'm afraid. I would regret it. And I can't live my life a way I'm going to regret. Like, just can't. um, so, that fear is something that every single one of us deals with, no matter how successful we are. Working professionals who seemingly have everything that we all want still have that fear. But the difference between them being successful and people who aren't is that they didn't let the fear rule them. They found a way to corral that fear and almost use it to their advantage. They made it push them. They made it help them get better. And that's the thing that you have to come to terms with yourself is how do I corral that fear and how do I make it work for me? For me, it's motivation to prove myself wrong. And it's also a matter of reminding myself, like, if I wasn't good enough or I didn't have the ability to be good enough, how did I get where I am today? I've had a lot of successes, even just little ones, like getting into music school. So if I wasn't good enough at that point, how did that happen? And if I don't have the ability to be good enough at some point, how did I get here? Because the reality is 13-year-old me didn't ever think I would be at the point where I am now. So who's to say that 45-year-old me couldn't be at a point where I can't even imagine today? And that's a huge motivation for me. And I think it's partially because I'm a very stubborn person and I like to be right. And so proving my inner critic and my inner doubt wrong is something that is highly appealing to me. And some of you guys might not have the same outlook or the same mindset, and that's fine because I'm my own big ball of weird. So, you will find your own way to handle the fear. And it could be just blatantly ignoring it and doing it anyway. And it could be surrounding yourself with people who support you and tell you and remind you that, hey, you are good, and hey, you can be good enough, and hey, you can do all these things. There's so many ways to get around it. You just have to try them and see what works. And I can only tell you what worked for me, and I can only really tell you my own experience. But there are thousands of people in the world who have done the same thing and have become more successful than I have and are farther along in their path than I am. So use them as well. Use their experiences. Ask people how they dealt with it. Talk to people, and you'll see that everyone has a unique but related experience with that fear. Everyone has had to deal with it. Everyone has let it get the best of them at times. But every single person who you will talk to in music has found a way to get around it. Or they're finding a way to get around it. They might not be there yet. They might not ever be there. Who knows? Like, that's the thing with fear and with doubt is there's no way to ever know if it's going to go away, but the more you work against it and the more you work to not let it get the best of you, the more likely it is to go away, or at least to be that tiny little squeaky thing in the back of your head rather than like this person shouting. And I have to remind myself of that all the time. It's not easy. But it's something that I've realized I have to deal with to be successful, and therefore am confronting. And I sometimes wish I had confronted it earlier, because it kind of ruled me very early on, and I was very, very afraid to admit what I wanted to do because it was quote-unquote the riskier path. And had I acknowledged earlier that I was doing something that I didn't really want to do just because I thought it was safe, I probably would have been happier earlier. And that's not to say that I regret the decisions I made. I am very happy with who I am now, but I think I could have found this person earlier if I hadn't been so ruled by fear. And part of what helped me do that is sharing my story with you guys and putting myself on the internet weekly and now literally daily, opening myself up for critique and for everything. Like, I could have just as easily been ridiculed rather than embraced in the Tumblr community and this community that I've created through multiple platforms now. And it was terrifying at first, and now it's still scary, but I enjoy it. I like sharing my life with you guys, and I like sharing my playing with you guys, and it's something that's really helped me figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And had I let that fear stop me from taking risks, I never would have realized how much I enjoy it. So this has been a kind of ramble about fear and about risks and about life, I guess. And I don't know if it's going to be helpful for any of you guys, but if anything, it's helpful for me to voice these fears and to admit that I have them, because I used to just ignore it. And the act of embracing it and the act of accepting that I have these fears has helped me get over them. So, yeah. I will see you guys tomorrow for the 365, and as always, I am happy to talk about whatever you guys want, so let me know.